You've hit play on the Screen Companion, where we'll help you pick something for movie night.
When you walk through the garden, you gotta watch your back.
This is part 3 of our retrospective on one of the greatest shows ever, The Wire, Season 2. In this part, we're talking stray rounds, storm warnings, bad dreams, and port in a storm. Hopefully this isn't the first episode people are listening to, but if so, we've got a few ground rules, one of which has changed slightly since this is the finale. Rule number 1, no politics outside of the world David Simon portrays. 2, no actor names to refer to their characters. We use only the character names or titles. 3, no discussing later seasons in detail. Because, of course, I don't know if we'll ever cover any of the other seasons. And there's definitely stuff in Season 2 that applies to future seasons, so I'll allow some discussion.
I'll allow it.
And then finally, no discussing actor appearances in other media. I almost thought about striking that one off the list. But you're on such a roll, John, and I don't know if you'll be capable of this ever again, so I thought, let's go for the perfect score.
I was thinking about that rule, only character names. Everyone in this is who I refer to them as when they're in other things. McNulty was the bad guy, and I want to say John Carter, and I kept calling him Emperor McNulty, not whatever his character name was.
Just between us, I remember he was the bad guy in that Punisher movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, McNulty, how far are you falling?
Yeah, I called him McNulty in that, too.
That's the key. I just got to make sure we do some seminal work where the actors, that's like their signature role. That's the way to get you to refer to them by their names in the story.
Yes.
Well, so now that we've rewatched the entirety of Season 2, has your perception of it changed? Is it still your favorite season?
Yes, it is. Because the way everything is just handled with the new characters, it's a great reset, so it can just be about the Barksdale crew and the officers again. Even though I don't think that happens.
You mean like it sets up the reset for Season 3?
Yes.
Because the cops and Stringer and Barksdale, there are very few scenes where they overlap this season.
The Barksdales deal with Prop Joe and that situation, plus Stringer's unpublic dissent.
Descent into what?
His mutiny. His descent into mutiny.
Forgetting that I've seen the third season, that really does set it up in a way that sometimes you look at some of these hanging threads and you go, I wonder what that's going to lead to. It's pretty darn clear the last time you see Stringer talking to Avon in prison that there's a schism there that's going to have to resolve itself.
Oh yeah, Avon already onto him, that's why he sent his man in.
I didn't realize how complete the Doc storyline is. Everything else, the cops, Stringer and Avon, Omar, it all progresses at a snail's pace. And like when I'm talking about it, lays groundwork for future seasons. But the Greek and the Union guys, it's such a complete story in one season. They introduced the Sabakas in the first episode of the season, gave us plenty of character development, and concluded the story by episode 12. With how good David Simon and company were at long-form storytelling, Season 2 makes me wish they did at least one other season that was self-contained like that.
Yeah, I think that's what I like the most about the season. Watching it back in the day, wait a whole year for the seasons. Now it's all right there, ready to go. So back then it was nice to know that it was contained like that. But also you didn't know. I distinctly remember thinking that that was not the end of Spiros and Zagreek.
Like you expected them to show up a lot more in future episodes?
Exactly. Season 1 ended with the Barksdale crew going down, and then this definitely ended with them not going down. They got somebody. They solved their case, which was their goal, but they didn't get the Greek.
And the Greeks do pop up here and there in subsequent seasons, but they're never the focus again. Maybe the writers were so preoccupied with the craft of writing and they wanted to show off so much how they could lay all this prologue down for subsequent episodes. Out of 5 years, man, just give me one more season like this. That's its own self-contained deal. And no, I don't count the newsroom in season 5 as being a contained season, because on a character level, I saw nothing compelling there, and they weren't the stars of that year in the same way Sabaka's dominated this season.
No, they weren't. Especially the newsroom. I kept expecting it to become like a clip show almost at some point. It was like, oh, you remember when McNulty was on that boat? And then like clip 2.
Well, a different kind of clipping. It also doesn't help that every season was 12 or 13 episodes, and then season 5 they were shortened to 10.
Yeah.
So, the first major story arc we'll talk about, and its resolution in these last 4 episodes of season 2, we got Jimmy McNulty in the special detail. McNulty goes and uses his man-horse skills, getting deep undercover as a customer at a brothel owned by the Greeks' people. Lieutenant Daniels and the rest start taking down doors, beginning with the brothel and ending with the Greeks' hotel room, missing him by a matter of hours. Still, they arrest a litany of offenders, including the Greeks' overseer of drug deliveries, and Sergei the enforcer. Boris.
Oh, I always Boris.
That was a good joke.
Yes.
The cops offer Frank Sabatka a deal to turn state's witness, but that doesn't end well because, in typical dramatic fashion, if you say, "I'll be back tomorrow," chances are you won't be for one reason or another.
Nope.
That almost felt like a joke, too, like somebody in that scene should have winked at the camera.
Yeah. Bunk just in the background.
And Frank's like, "Oh, we're not going to do this right now? I mean, I'm here." And I forget her last name, but Ronnie, the lawyer, she goes, nah, we got to run it by the office first.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to come in tomorrow with your lawyer and we'll do the details. The real drama for the cops happens in the office. Prez sucker punches his father-in-law, Major Valchek of the Southeastern, when the latter tries pulling him off the detail. Carver and Herc feel taken for granted as the day laborers for the detectives and decide to transfer. And the FBI liaison on the case realizes he's been unintentionally tipping off a counterterrorism agent who's been helping the Greek dodge trouble. So while the Greek and Spiros Vondopoulos have had to shut down operations through Frank's docks, they quickly move it elsewhere, and the song remains the same. John, are you happy with how much the investigation seems to take up the cop story in this final chunk of episodes?
I am, actually. Back to formula. How dramatic was them filing paperwork, trying to get in there?
Oh yeah, only The Wire could make paperwork sexy.
Yeah, you're like, oh, type faster, McNulty. No typos. Spell that word right. Come on, man.
Become an active listener by joining the Screen Companion. Subscribe on YouTube, hit us up on X, and our Facebook group. Let us know your favorite episodes and what topics or films we should tackle next. Further support the host by buying his novel, Self-Recognition, a futuristic detective story, available on Amazon in print and digital formats. Now back to the show. At least on a governmental level, I've heard of certain entities, like they were just getting PCs. It's a time where these guys are learning to type better. They barely know how to use a mouse. Back then, it still had a trackball, right?
Yeah.
It was jarring, though, considering how much of the cops' lives we saw in the first half of the season For instance, I noticed they spent time setting up McNulty's self-destructiveness, and then that goes by the wayside, and there's no home life stuff in the back part of the season. I guess we're just supposed to say he's cured while he's got a case to run, but hasn't the story already shown us that the police work leads him down a bad path?
I feel like the first half of the season was showing that if he's not focused on something, he's more self-destructive. This could just be a fault of the single story, wrapping it up so quickly, rather, of they don't have more time to show that.
Well, and then they still have little beats, like Kima and her wife, they're expecting their first child, and we see Daniels at home, he's sleeping in a different room of the house. We see Beatty Russell, the port cop, she's giving little glances at McNulty when they're at the bar with everybody else. And The Wire just can't get away from setup.
They can't, yeah.
This is all setup for stuff.
Yeah, all the little bit, yeah, because McNulty was doing quick little flashes of him flirting with Rhonda.
Oh, Perlman.
Perlman, yeah, the lawyer.
That's right.
He had relations with that waitress who happened to look like Beatty, too.
Oh, you think so? I didn't really notice a resemblance there.
That was the impression I got, was he was only into it because she looked like Beatty. Which was weird, because she's, like, straight to it, too. Like, he's all beat up and drunk.
Classic McNulty.
He's basically dying and could be this homeless guy. And to get you anything else? Sex. And boom.
While the constant setting up of future plot lines gets frustrating, there is a real satisfaction. Like, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in Season 4, McNulty goes back to Russell, and it's like, oh my god, they brought her back! Hey, how's it going? And it's more than just a cameo, you know? She shows up in a few more episodes after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that lived-in feel of the Baltimore in the show. What's your favorite scene involving the police in these 4?
I do love the paper filing. I don't know why that's so intense, but it is. It's just such good storytelling. I do want to give an honorable mention of McNulty trying on a terrible British accent and then letting the 2 hookers go too far.
Oh yeah, because he's undercover.
Yeah.
And what was the code phrase they gave him to have the cops bust in?
Spot on.
He's getting double-teamed by the prostitutes. And isn't it funny? He's the one, maybe because he's so in character, he's talking to the madam and they line up the girls. And he's like, is it okay if I pick more than one?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're putting yourself in that position, buddy.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
And it almost sounds like he's trying to run lines for a detergent commercial. Spot on it, Spot, oh hell, get in here.
Yeah, get in here. Later, there's a scene where he's like filing up through, and he has to say what happened, and he's trying to make himself look like the good guy, and Perlman reads it and makes a face, but they don't go further into that.
Oh, I love any scene in any show that involves legal speak, and they're trying to put a positive spin on something that's nasty or illegal. The officer felt cornered by these 2 women, and if he did not proceed with what they were after, his life was in danger or something.
I was outnumbered 2-1.
My scene, I'm going to go with Sergeant Landsman taking Ziggy's confession. I'll save the details for the next segment regarding the port story, but I like that we see a different side to Landsman. He's always joking around, and I would have believed it if they played it so that he's ridiculing Ziggy or cracking jokes with the detectives outside of the box. But no, to me, Landsman looks sympathetic, somewhat. Ziggy is handing himself over on a silver platter, slam dunk, but Landsman isn't gloating, he doesn't seem gleeful. I think he's perplexed during that scene, like, wait a sec, this kid isn't going to make us work for it? Someone did a bad thing and they're taking responsibility? No way.
Typed? You're ready for your John Hancock. You just have to initial each page and then sign at the end.
This is chicken. This That's the official record, right, Chief?
It's what's going to play in court.
Can it change something?
Yeah. Just put your initials next to your changes. It's no problem.
Yeah, it's only one. You know, you type said. Here, see?
Sad?
Yeah. He wasn't saying, please don't shoot me. It was more begging. You know? Double G. He's begging me. I mean, it doesn't get messy up though, right?
No, it's more descriptive like that. It's good. Thanks.
This was definitely Lansman's most vulnerable. It looked like he felt bad for Ziggy, and he definitely was unbelievably apologetic to Daniels later.
Yeah, for not notifying him that one of the subjects of the case came in.
Mm-hmm.
In the port story, we've got the Sabatkas. They were playing with fire by getting in league with the Greek, and it's time for those third-degree burns. Ziggy sells stolen cars to Double G, but the Greek associate only pays half the agreement, resulting in Ziggy capping his ass in the middle of the latter's retail store. Nick narrowly avoids an arrest warrant, but ends up turning himself in on the advice of his father. And Frank gets charged by the FBI, nuking his ambition to get political support behind dredging the canal. Even worse, the grain pier that was in the budget is now a no-go as well because the politicians are afraid to be seen as exchanging votes for cash, which they were, but the FBI doesn't need to know that. As Ziggy has given a full confession regarding Double G's daytime murder, Nick and Frank try to figure out a way to help. While Frank's initial impulse is to strike a deal with the law, Spiros tells Nick that they can get the one eyewitness to the murder not to testify against Ziggy. Obviously, he doesn't know what show he's in, or maybe he does, because Frank tells his nephew he'll meet with the Greek under a bridge, by himself. There are so many great Sabatka scenes in this last third of the season. What's your favorite scene with them?
It is Frank in the confession room, because he's finally willing to do something for his kid. He felt like such a shitty dad the whole time.
You mean when he goes to the special detail office?
Yeah. He's prepared to take everything for Ziggy at that point.
Yeah. In that way, maybe unintentionally the show is communicating a moral, because in that other scene where Ziggy signs the confession, I'll give it a sec for that siren.
Are they coming this way? I can mute my... Okay, they're gone. Other person's dead.
Real life The Wire, folks. But in that other scene, Ziggy takes full responsibility. He's trash, he knows it, he needs to be locked up. But when I was thinking more about Frank's situation and how he was already gonna sing to the cops, what makes him take Nick's route and have a face-to-face with the Greek? And all Nicky brings to the table is, well, here's another way to help Ziggy. And the one big difference is Nicky sells it as Ziggy won't even go to prison over this. Whereas if Frank took the deal with the cops, Ziggy would still go to prison, but they would put him in an easier facility. And so it's like a morality tale of, look, you gotta own up to your mistakes. And Frank wanted to find that way out of it where his kid doesn't go to jail for straight up murdering somebody, and that's his downfall. He should have just accepted that, no, Ziggy needs to go to prison, but I can make it easier on him. Instead, he's like, oh, let's figure out a way to get him off completely.
Ziggy learns nothing.
Frank learned nothing.
Well, Frank's never going to learn anything again.
My favorite scene with them, it's Ziggy getting visited at lockup, Frank's there to get answers for what happened.
Lawyers are saying a bail might be tough. I'm trying. You know I'm trying, right? What happened?
I don't know. I got tired. Got tired of being a punchline to every joke.
You had problems, you could have come to me. Could have said something.
You wouldn't have heard. You were always too busy dredging up the canal. Making sure the right bum got elected. Buying another round for the house. I always used to think you were working all them hours you spent away.
It was all work, Zig, even when it wasn't. For you and your mother.
I bet you didn't even tell her I was in here, did you? Maybe you did, and Shardy took 3 Nebutal, sleeping a day away.
Leave her out of this.
She's out of it, don't worry. Pop. When I seen what I did to that kid down at the store, it made me sick in my stomach.
That ain't you, Zig.
It ain't. 'Cause the same blood don't flow for us, Pop. I mean, I wish it did, but it don't.
You're more like me than you know. You're a Sabaka.
Fucked is what I am.
Frank's right. Both of them were playing gangster. Frank happened to be in a better position to stay in it longer, but neither of them had any common sense in staying away from the game. They're not good criminals, and both their lives were ruined because of it. The emotions in that scene, so tragic. Father and son talking it out, but it's too late to change. Give me close-ups of the actors. That whole scene is devastating off the looks and pauses. Oh, my eyes got a little moist there. How about you?
It did. I almost said the same scene, and now that you're bringing it, I'm glad I didn't, but it was, yeah.
I make notes of scenes I'm going to try to get audio clips for, and damn, left and right, I'm writing down, oh, this scene with Frank, this scene with Ziggy, this scene between Frank and his brother when they're talking about the cops turning the brother's house upside down, and that Frank knew about the drugs, and well, he didn't know about the drugs, but he knew that Nick was helping him with the Greek. And just all the family drama stuff. Ooh, it's so good.
It's a buffet.
What did you think of Frank's brother?
He wasn't around enough, honestly. I'd like to have seen more of him. Because he's Nick's dad, right?
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see more of him just to know more about Nick. But for the most part, he seemed like a shitty human anyway.
Wait, what, Nick's father? Why?
Because he was praising Frank in a condescending way, which I guess is how I talk to you, too.
That's just the prerogative of an older brother.
Yeah, okay. But it is.
I mean, you'll have to confirm that for me.
It is, yeah, no. No, my brothers won't do, they just go straight to insults. But he was, like, always talking about how great Frank was, and he was angry at him for it. He blamed Frank for the way Nick was turning out, even though it's like, that's your kid, dude. Raise your kid.
True, but it takes a village, as they say. And if Nick is spending most of his time with Frank, that's going to be difficult to rein him in. And then let's not forget, Herc and Carver mentioned this in one of the episodes. Nick lives in his parents' basement. He's like at least in his early 20s.
That's true. He's got a place by the end of this season.
I got a theory why Frank's brother doesn't show up more. He's one of those characters that they show he's got a very black and white outlook as far as morality, and The Wire isn't about those type of characters. So he can't really exist on the show because if he got injected into any of the drama, he would shut it down immediately. Like imagine if Frank called in sick and he needed his older brother to help out with the Greek. As soon as the guy gets the Greek's number, he's like, I'm handing this over to the police.
Yeah.
Show's over.
Yeah, this is illegal. You're going downtown.
So the Greek and his organization, it's dented but not destroyed, changed the faces, and it's the main plot in Season 1. Did you want anything different from the resolution? Are you okay with the top players getting away again?
First watch, I was not. This time, I was, because it becomes an international crime, and these guys are just city cops, you know?
I guess even when the show has lesser episodes, I don't think any of the episodes of The Wire are bad. But of course, they're going to be really great episodes and then just good episodes. So even when they repeat themselves, it's still pretty darn good. But I was a little more down on it this go-around because of how similar it was to Barksdale's people in the first season. They're very strong with their themes in the show. And by the second season, you already know nothing's ever going to get better. It's just going to keep going and going and going. And this is only the second out of 5 seasons.
I remember when they were setting up that the Greek was going to get away. He walked right by Kima at one point, right? And they didn't notice each other. And I was just like, oh, yeah.
I didn't have a bad time with those scenes, but every time it cut to Kutris at the FBI, and he's having secret meetings with the Greek, that goes too far into Jack Ryan territory. I said before that I like that the Greek represents the drug trade on a global scale. However, at the end of the day, I think I want to keep it all in Baltimore, and if the FBI does show up, fine. Don't cut to Washington or wherever else Kutris was operating from. It changes the flavor too much for me.
I agree. It should be just Baltimore. Baltimore police. I forget the mobster's name that was played by Johnny Depp, who inspired Jack Nicholson's character from The Departed.
Donnie Brasco?
The mobster.
Whitey Bulger.
Whitey Bulger. Yeah, I kept thinking Whitey Ford for some reason.
Johnny Depp's been in a few mob movies.
He has. Too many, if you ask. Yeah. But yeah, it had Whitey Bulger feels of it, where this horrible criminal is secretly an FBI informant.
If they had done a 6-episode miniseries just on characters from the Greek's operation, would you have checked it out?
Yeah, I think I would have.
So then the final major story arc this season, Stringer Bell, Avon Barksdale on the West Side, unable to reach an understanding with Avon regarding sharing territory with Prop Joe in exchange for high-grade drugs. Avon hires Brother Mouzone to be Project Sheriff and keep the East Side from slinging in the towers. With a secret alliance between Stringer and Prop Joe in jeopardy, they bring Omar in on false pretenses to take Brother out. However, upon getting the drop on him, Omar realizes that he's being manipulated and lets Brother live. Brother ends the contract with Avon and tells Stringer he'll handle the culprits responsible for the near miss on his life. Will we ever see Brother Mouzone again? Of course we will. It's The Wire, no loose threads. But it might take half a season to resolve.
Yeah.
So now that we see how the West Side Story has played out in Season 2, are you satisfied with how they were used as all set up for Season 3?
Yes. It basically just a reset button, but it's such a satisfying reset button. It wipes your ass for you. I don't know.
That's true. It would be a pretty good jumping in point for new viewers. Going back to something I mentioned in the previous part, in this 3-part discussion, are you okay with them seeding Bell and Barksdale throughout the whole season like this? Does it ever feel a little thin to you? Like, do you wish it was bunched up more? Like maybe we just saw them at the beginning or just saw them in the middle or the end of the season as opposed to one scene here, one scene there, etc.?
No, I like it. I think it works because you don't forget about them. Because there's so much going on. the cops alone. McNulty running around trying to be, undercover in whatever situation. Herc and Carver doing their stuff. Kima's got her personal life going on. So there's so much everywhere. Just a reminder, more often, opposed to just one big thing, not as often, I think is a better choice for all the characters, not just the Barksdale crew and Avon.
It does keep it dynamic, I suppose. It bugged me this rewatch how Stringer has a sit down with Omar and convinces him that Brother Mouzone did his boy Brandon from the first season. I just don't think Omar would have bought it. Do you believe how Stringer managed to manipulate him?
It felt more like he wanted to believe, especially with his conversation with Brother Mouzone. He didn't straight up just kill him first. He let him talk. So I'm not convinced that Omar was convinced.
He was convinced enough to shoot Brother Mouzone.
Yeah, but that's just who Omar is.
That's his way of being nice.
Yeah.
If we consider the Omar Brother Mouzone confrontation the climax of that street level story arc this season, it sounds like that was enough for you?
I'll say this. The first time I watched it, it wasn't enough. But this time, it was. I guess as a retrospect, it's enough.
Not many shows can say this. This show gets better with age, once you know everything that plays out. And at the time, I think I was just so enamored with the show, and it was so smart. I was focusing too much on every scene being so different and, by network TV standards, boring. I was like, oh my god, that's great. Oh, look at this, that's great. I wasn't really paying attention to the narrative structure. What's your favorite scene with the Barksdale crew in these 4 episodes, ignoring Omar and Brother?
Damn you. I'll go 2 because one of them's super quick. The Stringer conversation with Avon at the very end was just so powerful because it's like, okay, this is what's happening now. This is where the pieces lie and everybody sees them now.
It's like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly.
Ambush in his own goddamn room.
I mean, yeah, he gonna be alright, but
I don't give a fuck about how he gonna be, man. You put on out-of-town talent at a high price, you expect him to get the motherfucking job done.
Nah, he said that thing between us is, how he put it, absolved.
Absolve? What the fuck do that mean? Mouzone booked out. We worse off than when he came. Now, if the word get out on the street that we weak like this, how the fuck we supposed to maintain our shit?
I know, but we gotta hit right back, make a statement, but Mouzone not saying who did that shit.
You asked him who it was?
Yeah, I asked him.
Why?
Why what?
How you gonna ask a soldier like Mouzone a question like that? Either he gonna say or he gonna go and work it out. Either way, you ain't got to be asking him shit.
Man, every market-based business runs in cycles, and we're going through a down cycle right now.
String, this ain't about your motherfucking business class either. It ain't that part of it. It's that other thing. The street is the street, always.
Man, we're gonna get through this bullshit anyway.
No doubt, you just need to hold tight till I get uptown.
And that day gonna come, but until then, we gotta do what we can do, where we can do it.
Yeah, you need to go to Prop Joe. I ain't gonna argue with you. You run it as you see fit. At least till I get home, you do.
No doubt.
And then when the 2 crews are on the same corner and the Barksdale crew starts offering discounts and everything, like they're going through competing Amazon products.
Yeah, they're seeing who can be the loss leader. That was pretty cool.
I like that a lot. I don't know why.
Well, I think that scene with Bodie undercutting cheese, I take it as it's Stringer Bell's community classes, his econ classes rubbing off on the people under him. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Bodie looks up to Stringer.
He does. He does. I always saw it as Stringer said, don't start violence, basically. And Brody only hearing the message but not the meaning. But it also works perfectly as he's been paying attention in class.
So I want to touch on some quotes from the creator of the show, David Simon, as we get into some general topics. In this 2020 Vanity Fair article, Simon said, "The vast majority of viewers will argue that Season 2 was much less fun because it was much less cops and robbers. It was more about the death of work and what was happening with automation and the decline of the working class and the loss of union collective bargaining power. But there are a lot of people who experience it as, I want to see some more bang bang. Give me more Omar. Give me some more Barksdale versus the world." And in 2008, he did a Slate interview where he said, "Thematically, it's about the very simple idea that, in this postmodern world of ours, human beings, all of us, are worthless." So using that as our foundation, John, was there any kind of happy ending in Season 2?
No, but I think McNulty got a literal happy ending.
That wasn't in the last episode.
No, it wasn't in the last episode. But I would argue he got his job back.
Subjectively, yeah, that's a happy ending for him.
But, like, nobody's happy. What, Herc or Carver? I felt for them a lot. They were in there complaining about their jobs being so low in the totem pole. They're waiting for Sabaka to come back, Nick, and he'd already turned himself in.
Yeah, I agree with their argument that they're not looked at with the same respect as the other members of the team. But there are also much more senior detectives on that detail. And these guys, their strengths aren't looking at financial reports, listening in on the wire and looking at cans coming off the docks. Daniels even says to him, all that stuff where you're just waiting in cars all day, doing surveillance, that's the job.
Yeah, that's true. He did, yeah. It was on the job description.
They do the usual end-of-season montage, where we see that the drugs are still coming to Baltimore. The Greek and all the major sellers under him, they're operating no problem. The docks are toast. I had to think long and hard about a happy ending, and what I arrived at. Now, of course, every victory on this show is temporary and fleeting. I think the happy ending is Daniels getting his major case squad. They brought in the case, they brought in the 14 dead girls in the can, they solved it. So on the face of it, it's like, oh, yeah, you got Daniels, Freeman, the other people on the detail. Now it's a major case squad. We can do some real police work. And in David Simon's The Wire, there's no way that can get twisted or corrupted in any way.
Yes, because he's already on the outs with his wife. Daniels is.
Well, a lot of characters are out with their wives.
McNulty. Kima's going full Al Bundy from Married with Children.
I didn't really dig those scenes, Kima's home life, except I appreciated they were willing to make any of the detectives look like assholes. And this was Kima's turn, because when her wife is looking at strollers and is so excited, and Kima's just such a bitch. She just doesn't get it. She's just not into the baby, and it's like she was convinced to do it for the wrong reasons. She doesn't seem like she's into it. I was totally on the wife's side that whole scene. How about you?
Oh, I got it. You know more about Kima's work life of having to look at dead hookers or whatever all day and everything, so she just wants to relax at home. But she was too negative about the whole situation. But $300 for a stroller is too much. Come on.
And then that scene she has with Beatty Russell. Well, okay, so let's say there's a raid, but you got to find a sitter for the kids. Are you going to stay home with the kids, or are you going to go on the raid? And Beatty basically says, it's got to be about the kids. And Kima goes, yeah, but what if that raid's going to be really cool?
And that comes up, though, because Beanie was to the raid and she needed to find that sinner.
Oh, boy. So, The Wire had 5 seasons. The 4th season focused on inner city kids and the school system. Season 5 was the newsroom. If they had done a 6th season, what would you have wanted them to tackle for the main story or theme?
Other corrupt cops. So the crew has to look at themselves because, you know, they're not as squeaky clean, but like legit cops selling drugs and stuff like that, maybe. Corruption in the police force. I don't know how to say it without sounding generic.
Definitely is a running theme throughout the series, but I see what you mean about, I guess it would be more like an internal affairs
Yes.
arc. That's true, yeah, I don't think... I mean, obviously they get name-checked once or twice, like when Prespeluski shot up his car and accidentally shot an undercover cop. Internal Affairs got involved. I don't recall them having any recurring characters that were Internal Affairs, did you?
No. That's why I'm looking for, like, full-on, we got dirty cops. Uh-oh.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Something else I thought was surprising. Of course, you only have so many seasons to tell your story. They never focused on the hospital system. And I'm sure it would have ended up being doctors talking about insurance rates, but somehow I believe David Simon and company could have made that interesting.
There's so much, because you got potential insurance fraud on maybe embezzling. The opioid crisis, I think, was after this show. That's not hard to imagine, especially with all the drug use in the show, these people ending up in the hospital. I think that would have worked really well.
Fentanyl hadn't even hit the streets yet.
That's a before its time storyline.
And then when this series ended, was right at the cusp of the housing market going down the tubes in, 2008, 2009?
Subject to the movie Big Short.
Oh, and then if they had done a real estate scheme storyline, you could have brought in McNulty's wife because it's established she's a real estate broker. Man, that would have been cool. Heck, if they just had characters talking about homeowners insurance and car insurance and had some fraud scheme. I mean, there's no way David Simon couldn't have made that interesting.
I think so. Especially, like, if the Barksdale crew just evolved into... Because that's where you go next, right? After you've done drugs and everything, you get into real estate. That's how you become full-on organized crime.
Oh man, if that thing that happened to Stringer didn't happen to Stringer in Season 3, I think that could have definitely been the route they should have taken with his character.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He's definitely a smart enough guy for that.
Can we do an alternate take of Season 3 and 4? Can we bring Idris Elba back?
Let's call him.
If they greenlit this alternative season of The Wire, and David Simon called Idris Elba, how can you say no? There's no way you could say no.
Alright, hear me out. Twins separated at birth, and the other one was raised in England. As good as his accent is for Stringer, he could have a twin brother he never knew about called Stringer.
No, Tinsel.
Tinsel? Oh, God.
Tinsel Alarm?
It's Tinsel Alarm. I've come for your real estate, bruv.
Sweet. So now that we've arrived at the finale of the season and this broader discussion of the series, as we end our discussion, how would you sell the series to newcomers? Would you tell them to watch all 5 seasons? Maybe stop somewhere in the middle? Like, what guidance do you have for them?
I would say all 5 seasons. My pitch is usually, you didn't miss anything when you start episode 1. Just roll with it.
Because this modern age, I think we get a little binge-watching crazy. And for some shows, that's all right. Like binge-watching a sitcom, who cares? But if you binge-watch something as depressing as this show, all in like the span of a week or two, that's too much sadness. In this case, I would tell people 2 things. Take a little break between seasons, and trust that the smallest detail that you think is just going to be left there hanging and they're never going to come back to it, they will. They will. You can put full faith and credit in this show. They will deliver. I'm trying to think of really any big plot thread that they left hanging by the end of the series, and nothing immediately jumps to my mind.
No, I can't think of anything.
I mean, it does leave me with some questions, and I would have liked to see what McNulty did next. But the big thematic stuff that they play with, like Simon was saying in his quotes, they hammer it home pretty well every season about the institution being mightier than the individual and how it's all just one big Greek tragedy.
No pun intended.
Down in the hole.
You've reached the end of this episode of The Screen Companion. Thank you for listening.